Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Unveiling the Truth. I'm your host, Mark Howitt, and today's date is December 7th, 2013. I've got a great show today for you guys planned about Monsanto. We're going to be exposing that greedy, disgusting company that everyone loathes, and got a lot of information. Hopefully that you guys will find informative and try to connecting some of the dots there to expose this company for what they really are, because they do put on a great front. Monsanto puts on a really great front in presenting themselves as like a humanitarian organization trying to feed people of the world, when really they're exactly the opposite. They are literally the most vile and disgusting corporation on the planet, next to some of the military organizations, in my opinion. But what I want to do is talk about Monsanto and why they're hated so much. And obviously a lot of it has to do with the front that I just mentioned, how they put themselves off to say, yes, we're here doing a good thing. But before I get into that, I think it'd be good to explain what Monsanto is, for anybody who out there who's watching this that may not know who the company is or what they produce, what they're involved with, why they're so hated. So I'm going to play a really good video which sums it up very well. I believe this is available online. You can get it on the internet, and they want you to download it and re-upload to your page as long as it's in high def. So I'm going to broadcast that video here, and it's called GMO A Go-Go. So you can check this video out online for anybody who wants to watch it after and check it out further, or to share with your friends, because this is definitely a good video to play for people to explain why they're so disgusting, and essentially as well what genetically modified organisms are, GMOs. That's something that's becoming a lot more prominent in the news. You're seeing it more now discussed, because they're going further than just food production, which we'll get involved with later on in this broadcast. So I'll definitely try to explain that a bit better for you guys. So without further ado, here's GMO A Go-Go.
GMO A Go-Go.
Hey kid, what's up? Do you hate having to eat those healthy vegetables? Is nutrition getting you down? Well, cheer up! Help's on the way. Say hello to GMO, genetically modified organisms. You can eat them all day. Not only will mealtimes be extra delicious, they'll also contain oodles and oodles of insect genes and fish genes. Just think of all that extra yummy goodness. But that's not all. We're irradiating everything you eat, so you'll never have to absorb a single nasty nutrient ever again. And don't forget about pesticides. Plenty of those. Yes, sir. Like to know more? Well, let's take a look. Corn is a staple food used in many, many ways throughout the food industry. Growing it takes time, money, and lots of pesticides to protect the crops from bugs, vermin, and fungus. Now, some people think that pesticides made by big biotechs are harmful for humans, animals, and the environment, but that's okay. We've solved that problem. Our GM scientists are putting the pesticide right inside the crops. That's right. Isn't that amazing? The food itself will kill those pesky critters stone cold dead. Now, some people are worried about the bees dying off. Busy bees pollinate billions of dollars worth of crops, vegetables, fruit, flowers, you name it. But some insects are just plain greedy. They'll eat everything in sight if you don't watch out. GMO to the rescue! Thanks to genetic engineering, the plant produces a toxin from the newly inserted bacterium gene. The toxin kills insects, but not humans. The Bacillus thuringiensis toxin destroys the insects' stomachs. Ouch. We have absolutely no testing results to prove that these are safe, but they are. Trust us. We care. And because the pesticides are already growing right inside the crop, GM plants can withstand more weed killer than the old-fashioned organic crops. No weeds, no bugs. More food, more profit. What's not to like? But that GMO goodness isn't just about corn. There's rice, soybeans, cotton, alfalfa, soybeans, papaya, soybeans, oilseed rape. Is that all? Not on your life. GM is the gift that keeps on giving. The possibilities are endless. Just imagine you're a limey Brit trying to grow strawberries in the frozen wastes of Scotland land. Well, in the future, why not insert a gene from a codfish who's built to thrive in the icy North Atlantic? Result, frost-resistant strawberries. Wow, I want it now. The effects of GMO food on humans aren't as tried and tested as we'd like, but there are much more important things that need our attention right away. The population is exploding. How will we feed everyone? We need food security, and we need it now. But just because tests on rats eating genetically modified potatoes showed them growing slower after 2 or 3 generations and developing fertility problems, and some organ development issues, some goody two-shoes scientists and whiny campaigners worry that that might happen to humans too. Well, let's wait and see. In the meantime, the biotech companies can rake in the profits that will fund more exciting GMO experiments. We love farms. We love them so much, we want them all. We want to persuade every potential partner farmer to forget all about that silly organic farming and get with us on the GMO bandwagon. Whenever we change the natural gene sequence of any plant, we get a patent ASAP. It's our invention after all. Hey, the new GMO plants are our intellectual property. We aim to achieve total control of the seed. Got an organic farm nearby? Great! Soon everything you grow will be enhanced by the altered genes from our GM crops. Isn't nature wonderful? And what better way to spread the GMO goodness around than the wind? Accidental cross-pollination isn't our problem, and it's no excuse for profit loss. And once our genes get into your crops belong to us. Yep. Well, it's our technology. If you're going to use it, you've got to pay. We don't care how it got there. When we own the food, we will own life. So those naughty farmers better not save their seeds for next year's crop. If they do, we'll know. We'll tie up farmers for years in the courts. Farmers will just have to buy more seeds next year, and more pesticides too. It's win-win all around. If you want to fight us, we might just take your farm as a settlement. But we're human. Just. Thanks, Mother Nature, but we'll take it from here. But we're doing all this for you, Johnny. Don't forget that. And if it's all too much for you to take in, don't worry. We've got it all figured out. By the time you're a teenager, it'll be GMO a go-go. We just need to make sure that our army of lobbyists keep GMO labeling off any products. Why spoil consumers with unnecessary choices after all? And if old Farmer Joe decides to fight us, we have a ready-made network waiting to take care of him. Can you say revolving door? Yep. Some judges used to be lawyers who worked for us, and we make sure that they take care of business. And legislation, no problem either. Former GM industry lawyers also work for the food regulation bodies. And we have enough cash in our pockets to lobby any issues all the way to Saturn and back. Some people still think government food regulatory bodies are serving their needs. Hilarious. We are making a killing in India. Literally. Hundreds of thousands of farmers have been organically recycled to dodge debts that they owe us. Bt cotton doesn't always give strong yields, and bollworm, cotton's main pest, seems to be gaining resistance to our transgenic Bt cotton. This can mean bad crops and no revenue for some. We say once you're in, you're in. However, under Indian law, any debts die with the farmers, so farmer suicides stop debts being passed on to any remaining family. But I'm confident that we can lobby that issue too. When we own all of the cotton varieties, and we will, suicides will be of little concern, because we'll be the only cottonseed suppliers. Duh! Concerns have been raised in Europe over problems with GMO pig feed causing sterilization and growth problems, but we have years of marketing left before that's proved, and we'll find a way to work with the Danish pig farmers banging that drum. So eat up your veggies, Johnny. There's going to be plenty for everyone for the right price.
So there we have it. There's GMO a go-go, and that's a very interesting and informative cartoon, which pretty much sums up a lot of the points that can be addressed about GMOs and Monsanto as well. I guess the most important is the structure of the genes. They're cross-contaminating as many of the plants as they can, so that they can get rights over those products and those certain genes. And when they do have the rights over those, the patents, they can essentially gain total control of that market. So what they've been doing over the years is they've been slowly cross-pollinating and cross-contaminating several different vegetable types, grains, you name it. They're cross-contaminating them, and they're doing that so that they can have a specific genetic control. Well, financial control is essentially what they're after. They just want total financial control over the entire market, so that anybody who's growing a certain type of crop, all of the money can go back to one source, and they're lining their pockets and getting rich, while they're charging people for a basic necessity of human life, which is food. We need that for survival, everybody on the planet, and when there's one company making money off all of the food that the world's population consumes, then that's a big problem, in my opinion. That's pure greed on the side of Monsanto and all the organizations that are associated with it as well. Just this past summer, my wife got a few different kinds of plants given to her by her mother, and we let them grow outside. We had some herbs and stuff like that, but there was also baby tomatoes. And I knew they were genetically modified because you could see the barcode on different products. And when a vegetable is GM, or it has the Roundup pesticide in the vegetable, you'll see a number 4 at the beginning of the barcode. So when you're at your local grocery store and you're walking around and you're looking at fresh fruit and fresh produce, look at it, and when it has the number 4 on it, that indicates that it's essentially got pesticide in it. And the tomatoes, the baby tomatoes that we had growing in the side of the yard, I never ate any of whatever grew there because I knew it was all GM stuff. But the tomato, I plucked one off and I tossed it on the ground, and nothing ate it. It was there it's under the snow right now in pretty much perfect form. There was a split on it just from the natural growing, I guess, because it was on there for so long, but it didn't rot. There was no insects that were eating the plant, and even my dog eats anything. You know what I mean? She's a not a glutton, but she's not too picky when it comes to what she eats. We always got to keep her away from things because she likes chewing on things. She's still a pup and stuff, so but she wouldn't even go near this tomato, and she didn't even go near them when they're on the plants or anything. So that tells you something. When other life forms on this planet will not eat something, they stay away from it. That's a good indication that we probably should too. But most people aren't aware of that, and they buy it because it's cheap, and these biotech companies are getting patents on the genetic formulas for these plants, cross-contaminated or crossbred even. Like some of these genes, the reason why you're getting larger vegetables or certain colored vegetables now and stuff like that is because they've genetically crossed genes to get certain attributes that one vegetable has and get it into another one, and they're in a way, it's almost like playing God when you're controlling life and controlling what's coming out, the species. And I'm sure they don't want people to think that that's what they're doing, but it definitely seems like that's part of the plan, because they're not only doing this genetic experimentation with plant life, but they're also doing it with animal life. There's a good documentary actually about genetically modified pigs and other animals that they're doing. They're doing it to get certain attributes out of the animals, and it's making me wonder now if they're also doing that to humans. And I'm 100% certain they are. I mean, it wouldn't take long for me to do some internet searches and do some independent research and come up with evidence to support that. I'm sure that's something I'll probably have to likely do very soon. But one thing I wanted to bring up in regards to that is all they would need essentially is your DNA. So what's interesting is there was an article I read recently about how there was different cities in the United States that had roadblocks where there was patrol officers, highway officers taking blood from people. It was like checkpoints, and they were taking blood from people, and that's to be stored in a DNA database. Really, is what they're doing. They want your blood. They want your DNA. They want that stuff. Because I've always been really interested in like independent investigation and stuff like that, which also I guess I could say it started from my interest in serial killers and mass murderers and spree killing and stuff like that. I was really into that when I was a teenager. I guess when I got older, more in my like late teens to mid-teens, I guess. I was really into learning about that. I read lots of books on the subjects. I learned about all the different killers and was wondering what was going on in their minds and stuff. So essentially I was investigating different murderers, and a lot of the cold cases or unsolved cases really caught my eye. So that got me into investigating into a lot of things. Because of that, it's I started learning about the DNA and how important it is to these law officials and the government to have people's DNA, because a lot of times it didn't, they can't catch killers or rapists, serial rapists and stuff like that. The only way that they could catch them is through DNA now, because there was no physical evidence left behind by the accused or the suspect when the crimes happened. They left a very dry crime scene essentially when they left. So because of that, they're relying a lot now on DNA to link people to certain crimes or other things. I'm sure they have other reasons for the DNA collections. But that's another thing, which could be why they're asking people for their DNA now and their blood, so that they could store it. And also blood donations. When you donate your blood, they have to. When you're donating your blood, you're essentially giving up your genetic footprint to anybody, to who knows what they're doing with that, right? They say they put them in blood bags and it's used for medical purposes, which I'm sure a lot of it is. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure a lot of it is, but who has access to this stuff? A lot of these organizations that are taking DNA or that are interested in genetics essentially are Freemasons or Masonic related, definitely. You'll find in your community, when you have blood donation services and stuff like that, a lot of them are instilled or operated by the Freemasons, the local Masons. So that's another thing, and they are also in charge of the chipping. So that's an interesting point to point out here, is that not only genetically modified organisms are not only vegetables and fruits and plants, but they're also they could do that with humans as well, or animals, anything really. And that's when you get to that point, I mean, are they playing God, or are they just trying to, control us? It's pretty crazy. And I mean, we all knew it would come to this point at one point in our lives, or we've all thought about it at one point of our lives, where could that be? Could they really be doing this? And well, turns out they are. I thought it was really important to discuss genetically modified organisms and the health risks associated with consuming these products, as well as Monsanto, because there was a couple global protests against Monsanto, and this was in my opinion, a monumental point in human history, where millions of people around the world on the same time at the same day all gathered together around the world to protest against a single company, against a single cause, essentially. There is lots of areas and subject matter that relates to Monsanto and genetically modified organisms, but essentially these protests were all targeting a single source, which has never really happened on that massive epic of a scale that it happened the two times this year, essentially. So it's really important that I did discuss this topic, because I mean, it is a very important topic, and if it wasn't, there wouldn't be massive global protests happening all around the world. And I mean, I really want to do this broadcast and show you guys as much information as possible and connect as many dots as possible, so that Monsanto and the the GM agenda can be exposed. Because it dates back quite a while ago. I mean, genetically modified organisms in the food supply were first introduced in the early 80s. And since then, it's almost like a science experiment, really, because it's like the video said, the cartoon that we watched earlier, GMO a go-go. It explains it well when it says that, we don't know. We can't tell what the effects are. We don't know what it's going to do to the human population. So while we're consuming these products, we're not sure if it is giving us health risks. And there's tons of evidence to support that it is giving us health problems. And there is a lot of risks associated with consuming genetically modified products. So because of that risk factor, and because of how new the science is, and they're introducing this to us, I mean, Roundup Ready seeds didn't come into play until later on as well. So all this technology from the biotech industry is coming into play, and it's not fully studied. I mean, they put out these false reports as well. They put out false reports funded by the companies themselves to make them look good. I mean, when you have a revolving door surrounding politics and the biotech industry, I mean, the legal system, all these things are interplaying, and the key members are all involved with all these different organizations. I mean, as the cartoon explained as well, there's people involved with certain elements of these groups, and they just switch from one to another. So they're not essentially career in one position. They are switching their roles and positions, so they can influence different aspects. And when they're related to Monsanto and the world's food supply, I think that's a little bit dangerous, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do now is, after the March Against Monsanto here in my community, Sudbury, I went on the local news with a friend of mine who's also a local artist here, named Streetwise, and he's like a hip-hop artist here. Matt is his name, and he's a really good guy. And we were involved with the local protest, and it was a few days after the protest that we got invited to go to the local news, the Northern Life. There's two main sources for news here locally in our town. There's the Sudbury Star, and then there's the Northern Life. So we got invited to go to the Northern Life and discuss genetically modified organisms, Monsanto, the biotech industry, and stuff like that. And I'd like to play you guys that video for anybody who hasn't seen it. So I'm just going to get it queued up here. And it seemed like the guy who was doing the interview, he lives here in Sudbury and stuff. He was definitely he definitely had his own opinion about what he thought. What he thought about it, and it didn't seem like he was on the side of the worldwide protesters. I mean, the millions of people who know what's going on and are protesting around the world. So I just thought I'd point that out before I played the video here, but here's the video. Now, if they're feeding us GMOs, that's a criminal act. You know what I mean? That's a crime too. It's the same thing as going into a restaurant and having your waiter pouring arsenic on your steak and putting it down in front of you and saying, here you go. And then you take a bite of that steak knowing that there's arsenic in it. It's the same thing.
On Saturday, millions of people in 52 countries around the world marched to protest Monsanto, a giant US-based corporation that has become the lightning rod of worldwide opposition to genetically modified food. Protests were held in Sudbury, where dozens of people turned out to call for an end to the use of GMOs. But are those fears justified? A Google search will quickly turn up dozens of websites warning of the horrors of GMOs. But the mainstream scientific community has taken a different view. This is Headliners on the debate about genetically modified food.
The American Association for the Advancement of Science, their conclusion is GMOs are not more risky than conventional plant breeding techniques.
They won't test it though. They won't put the money to do the test to see if the health problems are, because if they did find a health problem, they would go bankrupt.
But they're saying right there that they spent $300 million, they did 130 research tests over 25 years, and they've never found any credible evidence.
It depends how much your paycheck increases by saying, no, this food isn't dangerous, you know? That's what I think.
Doesn't that reduce it to conspiracy again though? Okay,
yeah, sure. I mean, we're talking about an organizations that are saying this is safe. So A1, why won't Monsanto label it? If this product is safe, as they have declared it is, there's no issues with it as far as Monsanto is concerned. Why won't they give people the choice to know different?
There's a Russian study that was just done that proved that GMO foods causes third generation sterility. So if you have a child, that child will not be able to have a child. So they're doing it for population control, really. It's a way to de-sterilize the population so that there's less people on Earth, because they feel that's a problem, you know what I mean? So that's why...
So you're saying that the AAAS, which is, you know, like as I said, led the fight to have climate change recognized,
it's just like the Warren Commission. It's just like
maybe not even necessarily. What we are saying is there is contradicting scientific evidence out there that contradicts the findings they claim to have.
If everything you guys are saying is true, let's make that assumption. Are you guys saying no to any research on genetically modified organisms?
I think that we should totally eradicate all GMO crops and then start fresh and find another way. Because honestly, GMOs have been proven to cause health problems. Other countries are learning about this and burning their crops.
Even though doing that would mean billions of people would starve?
2,000 years ago, they didn't need genetically modified organisms in order to feed everybody. What they needed to do was organize and ensure that they grew enough throughout the year to feed everybody. So if the entire world turned around and said, okay, let's take this food that we believe is healthier, and organize properly, make use of the land. We're not making use of that could go towards producing what is required. I 100% believe that we could abolish that problem if we were to come to a consensus globally.
For Northern Life, this is Darren McDonald.
So it was a good debate here in Sudbury on the local news, and that report that he said he quoted, I mean, they did put money into that, but they already knew the health risks. If they didn't care. But what you have is they're essentially protecting their own interests. I mean, if they if the truth got out, which it has got out, but I mean, if they admitted to the health risks and the evidence that is against them, that it does cause health risks when you consume genetically modified products. If they admitted that, then obviously nobody would buy their food. Nobody would grow their crops. Nobody would buy the seeds. They would go bankrupt, and they don't want that. And it's interesting to point out that on the day of the March Against Monsanto, their stocks were down huge for a couple days after that, but then it did steadily increase a bit more. I mean, what happened when people did start spreading awareness against Monsanto is it did wake up a lot of people. A lot of people weren't sure what that was, so they looked into it and they found out their own evidence, and they found out the truth themselves, that it does cause health risks. And I think it's important to know that we are what we eat, essentially. I mean, if we're eating poisonous, hazardous products, then we're going to be sick. And that's what's happening. We are sick. There's people that, I mean, they can't hold a thought because of the food they're eating or the fluoride in the water, there's sterility problems big time. I mean, there's a lot of sterility problems happening around the world, and that's because of what they're eating. You got cancer levels skyrocketing, and that has a part to play with the food intake, and product intake, carcinogens and stuff like that, the increase in cancer. But there's also other reasons for that, which I'll definitely have to get into in another broadcast. It would take a long time to explain here. But still, it's interesting to know that despite all this evidence supporting that it does cause health risks, which I'll show you guys some evidence later on in the broadcast. But it's interesting to know that despite all this evidence, there's still people that don't care, and they still consume all this stuff, and they don't even care. They don't care that they could significantly decrease their lifespan. Be sterile, not be able to have children because of what they're eating. I mean, a lot of people are trying to have kids and they can't, and they just don't understand why they can't do it. And there literally is an agenda in play to cut the population. And a very important thing to point out, which Matt pointed out in the news interview that you just watched on the Northern Life, and that is that, 1,000 years ago, let's just say, long time ago, we were growing food, and it was enough to support everybody. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So there's always been production of food, but what's happening is people don't grow their own food. They don't obtain their own food. There is none of that anymore. People are so dependent on these factories producing their food, and people are so used to microwave dinners, radiating their food. People are just always on the go, eating fast food. I mean, a lot of people's lives have been compartmentalized, and it's so busy that they just don't have time for anything else. So they just don't have time to think about eating healthy. So they're always on the go, and it's crazy, really, when we could be learning how to grow our own food. We could be learning how to, sustain ourselves and become independent rather than being dependent on the system. And that's where I think we need to be. We need to be independent in nearly all aspects of life. I mean, we do definitely need to network and communicate with each other and evolve and grow and educate each other on important matters. But at the same time, I think it's very important that we remain independent as much as possible. Because when you do start depending on other people, you're always going to fall short. I mean, when you're depending on other people for things, there's always going to be that time where, it's not going to help. It's too late, or there is no help there, and you're going to fall short of your goals. So that's we always got to think about being independent and taking care of ourselves and being smart enough and educated enough to make the right choices so that we can, educate our children on the right choices as well as others, so that the world essentially it becomes the norm for the world to operate in with common sense. I mean, that's where we need to be. We need to be in a global world of common sense, where it's common knowledge, but it seems like it's like almost backwards, where it's just go, 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 go all the time. And I'm sure you guys all seen those videos on YouTube from Black Friday. The public going berserk in stores over a TV or some product that some company's offering at half price. I mean, unbelievable human behavior. And we are responsible for our own actions. But there comes a point where you have to analyze that from the outside and look at that picture in the box. Look what's going on inside the box almost, and step outside of that and see how ridiculous these people are acting. They're acting insane. And why is that? A lot of them, it's because of what they're consuming, or because of the way they've been brought up and raised. I mean, we're being brought up and raised in a world of competition. And what Monsanto's trying to do, and all these companies, are eliminate the competition. They don't want competition. They want to be the main source for that material. And you're starting to see that more and more as we are evolving into the one world government. United Nations are making all the major decisions now. Pretty soon we'll have one government system for the whole world. We'll have one currency for the whole world, and it won't be paper, it won't be coins. That's why people are buying up coins like crazy right now. Canada, we just got rid of the penny, so there's no more pennies. Now it's rounded off. I mean, that's just a sign that we are going into a digital age, people. There is soon going to be no money, cash money anyways. Everything's going to be digital. And when you're penalized, it's nothing to take away money from your digital number that's on a computer that you're worth. And that's what they want. I mean, I don't have it on me, but I mean, I got a birth certificate, so that means I'm a number. I mean, if you flip that birth certificate over, there's a number stamped right on the back, and that number is your number. We all got one. And if you didn't, you're lucky. You were born in the woods somewhere or in the wilderness and not in a public hospital or a hospital in your community, or you were born to a midwife at home or something, non-registered. And who knows how many people are actually born like that nowadays. Maybe some actors is one thing. A lot of actors have fake names because they're born a different name, but nobody would really learn their real name. Some people do, as CIA agents and intelligence officers also operate in the same fashion, where they don't reveal their real name. They always have alternate names. Essentially, the human being has become a product, and that's what this world has become. Money. How much is this worth? It's insane. And that's why Monsanto has become the largest food company in the world, food producing company, from the seeds to what's grown. I mean, the farmers do get the profit from what's grown, but they essentially have control once they have control of the seeds or what creates the production. And you're starting to see power in certain areas, which is, water, food. You'll see it with energy coming into play soon as well, where it'll all be larger companies taking over. You'll also have that probably with cell phones, where it won't be a cell phone company for a country, but it'll be like a global cell phone company. We already have that in a lot of ways, but there's essentially going to be less and less choices as the smaller guys are bought up by the bigger, and that's what happens a lot of the time. You'll get a new company coming in, which is essentially invested in by all these different parties who are trying to gain total control over a certain market. And is that what life is worth? I mean, to me, life is living, life is creating and loving and caring and sharing and being compassionate with each other. It's not about struggle. It's not about competition. It's not about finances. It's not about money. It's not about how much this is worth or how much that is worth. It's about living and life. But the way that we're raised and taught from a young age is that we need to consume. And you go to school, you're programmed through that program to get a job when you're older. It's the same time frame, same break structures. Essentially, when you go to post-secondary school, college, university, it's the same thing, but it's more like a job. You're essentially learning to become experienced or get a certificate in a certain area so that you can get a job when you get out of school. I mean, it's all about money. And that's what Monsanto is all about. And it seems that you can link it all, the most evil, essentially money can be linked to all the evil in the world in some way or another. It definitely can. When you see who's running the show, whether it be the oil industry, the food industry, the water, Nestle or whatever it is. And I'm sure you guys have all seen, I believe it's the movie Lorax, where they bottle air in water bottles. It's like a water bottle, but it's full of air. It's clean air. And you got to pay for that. I mean, is that what it's coming to? They're certainly trying to charge us for air. So, what could all this mean? What could all this control and all this mean, and where could it have come from? I mean, when did this plan start? It's hard to pinpoint it all, but there's a document that's very important that people should be aware of, which reveals a lot of the information on the agenda, and I'd like to read some of that. It's a report. It's called the Report from Iron Mountain, and the portion I'm going to be reading is actually from the book Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. However, you can find the document online. I'm not sure if the page numbers are the exact same as from the book that I'll be reading it from, but it is an excerpt from Report from Iron Mountain, and I believe it's pages 66 and 67 on Report from Iron Mountain. And for anybody out there who has the book Behold a Pale Horse, you can read this section from page 466 to 468. And I'm just going to get that book here. And yeah, you'll have to bear with me. I was in the studio again all weekend recording, so my voice is a little bit worked, I guess you could say. I think it was a bit worse last weekend when I had the interview with David Sylvester. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in last weekend that did as well. I think it was a good show. It was a good interview with Dave, especially how it was in person and stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe I'll have some other interviews where it's face-to-face in the studio kind of interview. But here it is in William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. He did publish portion of a report from Iron Mountain. And they're essentially substitutes for war and stuff like that. But I'm going to start... I was going to start a bit later than this, but I should probably read this just to be safe. So this is again I'm starting on 465, Behold a Pale Horse. This is Report from Iron Mountain. You can read the whole document online. You can download it from several different websites. So for anybody who wants to read the full document, it's definitely encouraged to do so, because there's a lot revealed in this document that was put out by the Bilderberg Group. So, space research can be viewed as the nearest modern equivalent yet devised to the pyramid building and similar ritualistic enterprises of ancient societies. It is true that the scientific value of the space program, even of what has already been accomplished, is substantial on its own terms, but current programs are absurdly and obviously disproportionate in the relationship of the knowledge sought to the expenditures committed. All but a small fraction of the space budget, measured by the standards of comparable scientific objections, must be charged de facto to the military economy. Future space research projected as a war surrogate would further reduce the scientific rationale of its budget to a minuscule percentage indeed. As a purely economic substitute for war, therefore, extension of the space program warrants serious consideration. So this is about the space program, but it eventually gets into a deeper agenda. I'm just going to take a drink here because coming out of the studio, my throat's still a little bit scratchy there. Perhaps I should have started a bit after that, just so it's a bit easier on my throat. There we go. It should be good. Sorry, guys. In Section 3, we pointed out that certain disarmament models, which we called conservative, postulated extremity, expensive, and elaborate inspection systems. So this is the disarmament agenda, how to make people disarmed, disarming the public, and making them docile. Would it be possible to extend and institutionalize such systems to the point where they might serve as economic surrogates for war spending? The organization of fail-safe inspection machinery could well be ritualized in a manner similar to that of established military processes. Inspection teams might be very like armies, and their technical equipment might be very like weapons. Inflating the inspection budget to military scale presents no difficulty. The appeal of this kind of scheme lies in the comparative ease of transition between two parallel systems. Very important there. The elaborate inspection surrogate is fundamentally fallacious. However, although it may be economically useful as well as politically necessary during the disarmament transition, it would fail as a substitute for the economic function of war for one simple reason. Peacekeeping inspection is part of a war system, not of a peace system. It implies the possibility of weapons maintenance or manufacture which could not exist in a world at peace, as here defined. Massive inspection also implies sanctions and thus war readiness. The same fallacy is more obvious in plans to create a patently useless defense conversion apparatus. The long discredited proposal to build total civil defense, obvious destabilizing effect of any global social welfare surrogate on politically necessary class relationships would create an entirely new set of transition problems, at least equal in magnitude. Credibility, in fact, lies at the heart of the problem of developing a political substitute for war. This is where the space race proposals, in many ways so well suited as economic substitutes for war, fall short. The most ambitious and unrealistic space project cannot of itself generate a believable external menace. Now, this is pretty much word for word what Reagan said. For anybody who's aware of his speech, it comes right out of this document here. So it has been hotly argued that such a menace would offer the last best hope of peace by uniting mankind against the danger of destruction by creatures from other planets or from outer space. Experiments have been proposed to test the credibility of an out-of-our-world invasion threat. It is possible that a few of the more difficult to explain flying saucer incidents of recent years were in fact early experiments of this kind. If so, they could hardly have been judged encouraging. We anticipate no difficulties in making a need for a giant super space program credible for economic purposes, even were there not ample precedent. Extending it for political purposes to include features unfortunately associated with science fiction would obviously be a more dubious undertaking. Now, this is where it gets really important and relates to what we're discussing today. Nevertheless, an effective political substitute for war would require alternative enemies, some of which might seem equally far-fetched in the context of the current war system. It may be, for instance, that gross pollution of the environment can eventually replace the possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as the principal apparent threat to the survival of the species. Now listen here. Poisoning of the air and of the principal sources of food and water supply is already well advanced and at first glance would seem promising in this respect. There we go. They're already doing this. They've been doing it for years, poisoning the food and water supply. It constitutes a threat that can be dealt with only through social organization and political power, but from present indications it will be a generation to a generation and a half before environmental pollution, however severe, will be sufficiently menacing on a global scale to offer a possible basis for a solution. It is true that the rate of pollution could be increased selectively for this purpose, and I believe here they're also talking about food pollution and water pollution. All sorts of pollutions, but anything to harm us, essentially, or to create a threat. Sorry, I might have to reread this because I forget where I am. It is true that the rate of pollution could be increased selectively for this purpose. In fact, the mere modifying of existing programs for the deterrence of pollution could speed up the process enough to make the threat credible much sooner, but the pollution problem has been so widely publicized in recent years that it seems highly improbable that a program of deliberate environmental poisoning could be implemented in a politically acceptable manner, which we don't accept it, which is why there was a massive protest against Monsanto because of that. However unlikely some of the possible alternative enemies we have mentioned may seem, we must emphasize that one must be found, and must is can't think of the word right now, I guess brought out a bit more in this document, of credible quality and magnitude if a transition to peace is ever to come about without social disintegration. It is more probable in our judgment that such a threat will have to be invented rather than developed from unknown conditions. For this reason, we believe further speculation about its putative nature ill-advised in this context. So what I think is going on is, they do try to create a false flag or false terror, false threats. They do try to create this, but we're waking up on a massive scale. I mean, we're becoming much smarter. We're learning. There's more people that are involved with the sciences that can figure out that we're being duped, and they have figured out we're being duped, and now they're exposing it. So now, instead of just hiding it, they're actually doing it. They're going full out with this agenda. In today's day and age, in our generations, we're being affected by this document right here. Report from Iron Mountain. So for anybody out there who thinks that they're not out to harm us, or they wouldn't conceive these things behind closed doors, it's already happening on a massive scale. So that was very important to point out. And to read that part from a report from Iron Mountain, especially where they're talking about poisoning us environmentally through the food and through the water, so many years ago as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the news report on those rat experiments, and there's also another really good one that I got to show you guys. Sorry if it's hard to hear when I turn my head from the microphone, but I just got to make sure this is going to show up for you guys. Alright, so I'm just going to get this on screen. Hopefully there's not an ad. Yep,
going to the gym is easy. You can work out any part of your body. But they don't really have a machine for your brain. Lumosity is all these...
Alright, here we go.
Well, here is a story that will make your stomach turn. A French study that was just released finds rats that are fed genetically engineered corn suffered from tumors and severe organ damage. This is in the wake of a battle going down in California over big agro businesses like Monsanto and proponents of food labeling. Proposition 37 would require all food that contain genetically modified organisms, or GMOs as they're known, to be labeled. Such a move could have a major impact on what food people buy and eat. To discuss, I'm joined now by Alexis Baden-Meyer, Political Director of the Organic Consumers Association. Alexis is also part of the California Right to Know campaign that is fighting to label GMO foods. Alexis, welcome.
Thank you.
So we see what's happening to rats being fed GMOs. Is this what can happen to humans?
Absolutely. We're seeing a huge uptick in cancer among our population, diet-related diseases, gastrointestinal disorders, allergies amongst kids, autism. All of these things could be related to genetically modified foods. The studies need to be done.
But is there any study connecting the ailments that you just listed specifically to GMOs?
Well, the study that came out yesterday is a very important one. This is the first study that's looking at the effects on rats of eating genetically modified foods over their lifetimes. Human beings in the United States are also part of this study. The way the study was conducted, they gave the rats the genetically modified corn. They gave them the genetically modified corn with the herbicide that the corn is used with. And they also gave the rats water that has levels of the herbicide in it that are the same as levels permissible in the United States.
I just want to point out, we are looking at the study, exactly what has happened to these rats. You can clearly see these fairly large tumors, especially in comparison to the size of the rats. So, I mean, even though it hasn't been, there aren't conclusive results on humans, we can only presume that there would be a similar result in humans.
Yeah, the rats had tumors in their mammary glands. We have a huge rate of breast cancer in this country. You know, why are we having a rate of cancer that's subjecting about half of us to cancer in our lifetimes? It's probably because of our diet, and it very well may likely be related to genetically modified foods.
Scary stuff there, and this is all going down amid a battle in California over Proposition 37, which would require labeling of GMO food, and those for or against are splurging on funding this measure. I want to pull up this chart here. It shows the funding on both sides, those that want food labeling, and you can see mostly health and organic food companies. They raised $3.8 million. But giant agro corporations like Monsanto, Bayer, Nestle, and Coca-Cola, they outspent those against this measure drastically. They raised over $32 million. So, I mean, Alexis, does Proposition 37 stand a chance when you're looking at huge spending on lobbying against it?
Well, we expect to be outspent about 10 to 1. And we're not going to have the money that they'll have to put up a lot of television ads. We're relying on the consumers who care about this issue to spread our television and radio ads via email, via social networks, to tell their friends, to engage in our phone bank. We're organizing a phone bank all around the country to call California voters. So we need volunteers, and we need the small contributions to put out this campaign and give ourselves a chance. But I think we're going to win. 9 out of 10 people support labeling. And so no matter what lies they hear, even if the other side is able to drop that support significantly, I still think that we can beat them. So I hope everyone will get involved.
You
to
just
help.
said 9 out of 10 people support labeling. I mean, that's a huge majority there. Why is there such a fight against getting labels on the food that we're putting into our bodies?
Well, as you mentioned, it's all about money. In a race like this, the voters get to choose, but politicians are a lot more susceptible, I believe, to the influence of large corporations when their campaigns depend on raising money from companies like Monsanto. So Congress hasn't been able to stand up to Monsanto, but I think the voters of California can.
Now, let's say this does pass and we do get labeling on our food. What do you think the consequences of that will be? How will that affect the types of food we see in our grocery stores and ultimately what the American people eat?
Well, we already see people choosing organic whenever they can, when it's available and when they can afford it. So I think we'll continue to see organic grow as it already has. But in Europe, a lot of the companies, rather than labeling their food as containing genetically modified ingredients, chose to take those ingredients out. That would be the best case scenario. And I hope that the companies work with their consciences and want to serve safe food to the public.
So let's say this does pass in California. Do you think that will have a ripple effect on other states?
Absolutely. California is the 7th largest economy in the world, and 10% of grocery stores are in California. So I can't really imagine companies labeling things differently for the California market than they do for the rest of the country.
And lastly, just want to ask you to put into context how widespread GMOs are. How can you describe when somebody goes to the grocery store and we're looking at aisle upon aisle, how much of that food actually contains GMOs?
About 80% of all processed foods contain genetically modified ingredients, and that's according to the Grocery Manufacturers Association. And they're one of the groups that is opposing our right to know about genetically modified foods. So they admit that it's in there. The difficulty is, figuring out which ingredients. But what I tell folks is if you avoid the worst ingredients, if you're avoiding trans fats, high fructose corn syrup, you're going to be cutting out GMOs from your diet. But, it's just overwhelming, the amount of products that contain these ingredients.
Absolutely. And the study just came out that shows that, or I guess that proves or doesn't prove, because of course, when you buy organic, it's more expensive. And a study just came out that says that just because it's organic doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthier. What do you think about that claim?
Well, an apple that's raised organically and an apple that has pesticides sprayed on it, it's not surprising if the organic apple isn't a lot more nutritious for you. It's still just an apple. But you're avoiding all of these toxins that are probably giving us cancer and creating a whole raft of diseases. So wouldn't you still choose the organic apple, right, even if you weren't convinced that it might have more vitamins in it?
I mean, pesticides and chemicals certainly don't seem, it doesn't sound healthy. I'd rather keep that out of my body if possible. Alexis, very interesting. Thank you so much for coming on the show. That was Alexis Baden-Mayer, Political Director of the Organic Consumers Association.
So yeah, as you've seen on the video earlier, in regards to the GMO A Go-Go cartoon, as you saw earlier, they were discussing the problem in India with the farmers' suicides, and that's a pretty severe issue. I mean, it's not happening as badly now as it used to be, but there was definitely a huge problem with suicides there. I mean, tens of thousands of people committed suicide, and I'm going to find a report on that because it's a very important topic of discussion in regards to GM production. Seems like I'm having some computer errors. Sorry about that, folks. Can't rely on technology forever. Sometimes it's human production's better, for sure. And this is giving me a bit of problems here with the Flash player. So I do apologize. I'll try to get this working here. Yeah, gotta love it when your computer starts crashing when you're doing a broadcast. Happens sometimes. I'm sure the other broadcasters on the Truth Broadcast Network know exactly what I'm talking about. There we go, that should have finished it. He was saying that the Flash player crashed and all that nonsense. So here we go, I'll get this back up and running for you guys.
I started Lumos.
Alright, so and there is a few different articles on that particular subject. So I'm going to try to find the best one here. This one here seems to be not too long. So I just definitely want to make sure that it's a good enough video. It doesn't seem to be a good one though. And this one's probably better. I probably should have found a good video here before. So I do apologize for not being 100% prepared on this one here. It was something that was brought up in the GM video, the cartoon that I was reminded about. So I thought it was very important to point out here. Okay, this one seems to be good. So here we go.
Monsanto talks about feeding the world. This is their PR concoction. Let's take a look at what's happening in India. They took over the cottonseed industry and are forcing millions of farmers to plant their Bt cotton. Now, cotton is engineered to produce an insecticide which breaks open the stomach of insects and kills them. The normal natural Bt is found in soil bacteria. When that's used as a spray in the Pacific Northwest, for example, for gypsy moths, about 500 people complained of allergic and flu-like symptoms. Some had to go to the hospital. Now in India, thousands of workers are complaining of the same symptoms. Many are getting rashes and many are itching.
Farmers have been complaining that they have itching. When they grow, they go to pluck, they have itching sensation.
ఈ బీటీలో పనిచేసే ఎవరైతే కూలీలు ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళకి ఆ పని చేసేటప్పుడు ఎలర్జీస్ రావటం మేము గమనించడం జరిగింది. అదే నాన్ బీటీలో పనిచేసే వారికి అందులో ఎలర్జీస్ అనేటివి ఏమి రాదు.
In India, they allow animals to graze on the cotton plants after harvest. They've had no problem for years. When they introduced Bt cotton, however, they noticed that thousands of animals got sick and thousands died. There's a small organization called Deccan Development Society that pleaded with the government to do tests on the Bt cotton to see if it was causing the animal deaths. They went to the government, they didn't follow through. They went to universities, they didn't do anything. So DDS did the study itself. They took 9 sheep. 6 were eating either Bolgard 1 or Bolgard 2 Bt cotton, 3 non-GMO cotton plants.
So within a month, all the animals which ate on Bolgard 1, Bolgard 2, they died. And the animals which ate on non-Bt, non-pestle managed cotton are still alive and are still active.
I visited a village in Andhra Pradesh. They had allowed their buffalo to graze on cotton plants after harvest for years without a problem. They allowed their 13 buffalo to graze on Bt cotton plants for a single day. Within 3 days, all 13 buffalo were dead. We know that the crops that are genetically engineered have unpredicted side effects. This can not only affect health, but also the agronomic properties. The Bt cotton grown in India is extremely unreliable. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But there they have no safety net. Millions of farmers have invested money in the more expensive seeds and associated chemicals. Many have borrowed heavily at high interests. When the cotton doesn't work out, many of these farmers cannot even pay back their high interest loans. The number of farmer suicides as a result is astounding.
High cost seed with unreliable performance is what is getting farmers into debt, and debt is what is causing the farm suicides. All our studies over the last decade show that the suicides are concentrated in the cotton areas, and in cotton, much higher suicides in the Bt cotton belts. My assessment is 250,000 farm suicides in this country, of which at least 3/4 is Bt linked.
So yeah, that was a clip from a really great documentary on GMOs and Monsanto as well, called Genetic Roulette. So anybody who hasn't seen that film, I'd strongly encourage that you go out and do so. It's very informative, and it's a little bit newer. There's also an older one, which kind of is a documentary which exposes Monsanto and GM products from the farmer side of things, and that's called The World According to Monsanto. And I believe that's an older one. I believe it's from 2008 or earlier, and that's also very informative. And that shows firsthand that these farmers that have been growing heirloom seeds is essentially seeds that have been passed down from generation to generation. So you know they're not tainted. You know that they are organic seeds. There's nothing wrong with them. The same seeds have been used for generations on farms, passed on from father to son or family, mother to daughter essentially, and so you know they're not tainted. But in The World According to Monsanto, they're exposed because Monsanto have been cross-pollinating these crops. And the wind does that. Nature already does that, essentially. It blows seeds into other farms and pastures, and then it cross-contaminates one seed. And then when they, pollinate or whatever, it spreads throughout the whole crop and contaminates the whole crop, essentially. And then Monsanto comes in and does their tests. They do the test on the plant or the stalk to see which kind of genetic structure it's made of, and then they do this sometimes. They wait like 2 or 3 years before they actually approach the farmer and do a test on their plants. They'll make sure that they know that the contamination is well into effect and there's no turning back unless the entire crop is eradicated. And they have various methods that they approach these farmers with, and often, they say, well, you can either sell our product or, grow with our seeds, or we can sue you. And that's what a lot of them have done. They've sued these farmers for doing nothing, for what? For growing their crops the way they've always done, and keeping up with the market and their local demand. And then you have essentially Monsanto coming along and contaminating their crops, and then they lose everything. These farmers don't make enough money to be able to fight a legal battle where Monsanto is highly connected with lawyers and judges and government, and they have a leeway. And U.S. President Barack Obama signed the Monsanto Protection Act, which essentially protects Monsanto against lawsuits from anybody in regards to health-related problems, anything. I mean, this is the Monsanto Protection Act, and that's a disgusting move, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of you out there listening and watching this will agree with me entirely that that's just disgusting that they can allow this to happen. And they say it's to feed the population. Well, you've got a problem that's hasn't been eliminated from the social structure of the world, and that is starvation. I mean, such an easy solution to solve that problem of starvation. People don't need to be starving in, whether it be Africa or even here in North America. People don't need to be starving. I mean, we're living in the year 2000 and very soon 14. We're advancing. Time is going on. And are we evolving? I mean, are we developing or are we de-evolving? Is it a de-evolution of the species? It seems like it's the de-evolution of the species, in my opinion. We're de-evolving. We're not evolving. We're not getting smarter. We're getting more controlled, more indoctrined, and our rights and our freedoms and essentially our health and our right to live is being taken away slowly. It's being hacked away. Hacked up for barbecue is a good way of putting it. Disgusting. That's all I got to say. And they expect us to eat these foods without doing the tests, and they expect us to get sick. I mean, it's absurd. And what's going to happen is, eventually, with all this cross-contamination and all this experimentation with food happening, what's going to happen is there is not going to be any natural plants left. I mean, they're trying to get rid of the natural seed, all those heirloom seeds. They're trying to eradicate all that so that the average farmer can't grow their own food, and they can't grow clean, healthy food. And the organic, good heirloom seeds that have been passed on through generations are kept by these globalists. Just look at Bill Gates' seed bank. Look at that. Look it up. Seed Vault. I mean, Bill Gates, arguably one of the richest men on the planet, did that years ago. Gathered up all the seeds of all the different plants and stored them in a vault. Why would they do that? They say it's in case something happens on the earth and they need to go into that vault and gain access to these seeds to continue growing these crops. But what you have happening on the outside, after they've taken these natural, clean seeds, is they're polluting the market with toxic Terminator seeds. Do the math. You get a negative out of that scenario. That's not good. I mean, when you're in the negative, you're losing. And that's what's happening here. We're losing the battle against Monsanto. And I say that it's true. And I don't want to say that. I mean, I wish I could say that we are winning the battle against Monsanto. But if you look at the big picture, millions of people around the world protested against Monsanto. And it did nothing. They're still operating. They're still poisoning us. You're still going to your Walmarts or your supermarkets and you're buying these produce with the number 4 on it. You know, you're buying all these toxic food. And they've jacked the price on organic food. Anything clean and healthy for you is going to cost you twice as much. So if you want to eat healthy, you got to be making enough money to be able to support your need or your wanting to eat healthy food. There is other alternatives for that, like growing your own food and making sure that it is good food that you're growing. That's definitely probably the best way to do it, and I would definitely encourage anybody to do so. But we should be at a stage in our lives right now where you go into the supermarket and you have the choice of good food. Oh, good food or good food. I think I'll go with good food. And not, I'm going to go into the supermarket and I got good food and I got toxic, chemical, cancerous food. And I only got $5 in my wallet right now, so I got no choice. I want red peppers tonight, or I want a tomato tonight. And you're going to buy the GM food because you don't have enough money to buy the organic stuff, which is twice as much. It should be reversed. Reverse that whole situation. It should be more accessible to buy the good food rather than the others. And then that would also drive market interest up for organic products, which is already happening on its own. I mean, I salute everybody out there who goes to their grocers and they buy organic food, because that's one way of battling this. But there's all sorts of issues with that, but it's a very good start. Put it that way. It's a very good start. It's like the news report said, the RT clip that I just played you guys. Just because it says it's organic doesn't mean that it's absolutely clean. I mean, there is a lot of things that are labeled organic which still have harmful additives and preservatives and other elements in it that aren't really good for you. But it's grown organically essentially, and a lot of times they aren't grown organically. Well, sure, they're grown organically. I mean, they're not adding things, but the nutrients in the soil have been depleted so much that the fruit and the vegetables themselves are not getting the nutrients that are supposed to be required for really nutritional food. You got to realize that when you're just growing in the same soil all the time, you're depleting the nutrients in that bed, and then when you plant the next year's crop or whatever, it's already dried up of nutrients. You're not going to get all that. I mean, a lot of plants operate in the same way. So, and we operate in that way as well. I mean, if we're not properly, if we don't have the proper nutrients and we're not healthy enough, we're going to die. We're going to break down and we're going to get sick and we're going to die. And what's that going to do? It's going to generate revenue for the medical industry, because that's what it is. It's an industry. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of doctors out there who do care about their patient, and they do want to, suggest things like, oh yeah, eating is good. A lot of times they'll wait for the patient to suggest that themselves before they promote that route. But still, there is a lot of doctors that are good out there that will tell you, if you change your diet, you can become more healthy. And a lot of times that's very true. Look at the Gerson treatment for cancer therapy. It's called the Gerson therapy, and that's just from eating good foods. You can clean your body out. I believe it's called breatharianism, and that's where you don't eat anything. I'll show you a clip in a little bit there, a short little clip where there's about a guy who hasn't eaten in a very long time. And I'll admit, I mean, I've done that too. I go on fasts every once in a while, and it's not a religious thing or anything like that. The reason why I go on fast is to detox my body, essentially. It's a natural detox for me. I'll just drink water, just some fluids, stuff like that. But I won't eat anything. I won't consume anything. And what I do in the process, or what that's doing in the process, essentially, is I'm not eating anything. So all the materials that are in my body are being broken down and used, even though I'm not putting anything else new in. And I'll have to admit, it doesn't harm me. You know what I mean? I could go a few days without eating anything, and it's no problem for me. And I do that to cleanse myself because I could feel it working. It actually works when you clean your body out just by not eating. Your body just gets rid of everything, all the free radicals and all the toxins and stuff, and your body cleanses itself. And it's a really good way to clean yourself and to start anew almost. So that when you do put something in your body and it's good, that's what you need, right? You need to be only putting good things in your body or nothing at all. And a lot of people are getting scared to eat because of what they're learning about is in their food, and they're learning about the chemicals and the drugs in their water. And it's such an important issue here. This is a crime against humanity. These people are committing crimes against humanity to every single one of us. Yep, it's the truth. Just think about it. If only for a moment, think about it. These people, by poisoning our food supply and water supply and air, crimes against humanity. Simply put, they're drugging us without our consent. They're adding toxic elements to our to the supply of sustenance that we need to survive as a species on this planet. I mean, we're not aliens, you know what I mean? We're not microbacteria. We require certain fundamentals to survive, and without those fundamentals, we would die. And that's why it's so important that because we are dependent on factories and manufacturers producing our food, that these people, right from the root, should be making good food for us. It should be mandatory that these companies are producing the most healthy food possible. And they're not. And there's an agenda behind that, as we read in Report from Iron Mountain. It's a intentional act. It's an intentional crime against humanity is what it is. And when are we going to rise up and hold these people accountable for what they're doing? I mean, it's very hard to do a protest where millions around the world protest against something, but nothing gets done. I mean, what's probably going to take, and that's why the song you heard at the beginning of the broadcast, which I'll play a bit later as well, towards the end, it's a hip-hop song, I guess, that I made about Monsanto, and it says right there, you know, all these Monsanto guys and representatives are hiding in their rooms behind closed doors. That's what they're doing. Will you ever see these high-ups in Monsanto walking around in the public? Highly unlikely. Why? Because they're scared. They are scared of us. They're scared of what we will do to them when we see them in the public. And I assure you this is truth. That's why you see our politicians walking around, they're driving around with, Secret Service behind them, following them with like 6 cars behind them. Why? Because they're scared. Because they know that they're criminals. It's a mafia. It's a global mafia. That's what it is. And who's in this mafia? It's not only organized criminals, like the mafia itself, but it's also politicians. It's also companies, corporations, banksters, gangsters. It's all there. They're all connected, you know what I mean? And if you look back to even the JFK assassination, which, by the way, the 50th year anniversary just passed, and the truth is going to come out very soon. I sense it. It already is coming out slowly. But if you look at that situation, that involved mafia or organized crime and the CIA, as well as other elements of the government, to pull off the JFK assassination. Well, when they got away with that, and they duped the world into believing that it was Lee Harvey Oswald who was indeed the patsy, who did not do that, they got away with it for so long that now they think they can get away with everything, and these criminals have slowly seeped their way into every facet of government and corporate control on the planet, and they are seeking a one world political system. And Monsanto is part of that puzzle. If you look at the BP oil spill and the FDA hearings that happened, the FDA wasn't checking the seafood for toxic amounts of mercury and lead and poisoning, essentially, in the seafood. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, was not checking what they were pulling out of the ocean before serving it on our plates in restaurants and grocery stores all over Canada and the United States. That's worth checking out. So, I'm going to get that on screen, guys. Oh, there we go again with the crashed program. It doesn't like me using YouTube today. And I assure you, it doesn't normally give me these problems. This isn't normal behavior. Seems always on a Saturday. And actually, another thing I wanted to point out too is every time I go live with a broadcast, right before I go live, it seems like all my programs on my computer want to update for some reason on a Saturday, which would definitely slow down performance in the computer, disconnect broadcasts. I was already disconnected earlier. They do those kind of games to try to get you, frustrated, definitely. And I believe it's in this documentary that I made, Eye of the Illuminati. There's a very good clip showing the FDA hearing. I just want to make sure that it is this documentary and it's not Domino Effect. I should know that since I made the films and organized the the videos and stuff, but oh, maybe it is on domino effect. Oh, here we go.
It can be divided into two categories: soft kill techniques and hard.
Yeah, and actually I'll show this clip here from one of my films explaining soft kill and hard kill techniques. I've never heard those terms used before I presented that in this documentary, Eye of the Illuminati. Hard kill and soft kill. Hard kill are abrupt killing techniques, war, nuclear catastrophe, natural disasters, flooding, catastrophic devastation, which kills off thousands or millions of people essentially at one time. Soft kill techniques are techniques that are applied to a population which don't kill them as quickly. It's slower, it's more gradual, but still has a lethal effect. And that's what the difference is. So I'll show
is
that
all
part
that
here.
matters. And love compels us to reach out to Sam. Love.
It can be divided into two categories: soft kill techniques and hard kill techniques. As starvation still occurs in many parts of the world, this can be identified as a hard kill method of population control. Other forms of hard kill techniques include war, natural disasters, epidemics and disease, and nuclear catastrophe. Soft kill techniques are less obvious and are covertly applied to a population as it's not designed to kill instantaneously, such as the methods used in a hard kill scenario. Oftentimes, soft kill techniques are meant to only shorten a lifespan or kill off select groups of people. They also exist in the forms of diseases, viruses, and bacteria, and is the reason why there has been so many food and product recalls in recent years.
So the president of IG Farben was convicted of crimes against humanity. Now, he's a sort of artistic fellow and creative. He was the one who was responsible for the slogan that people saw as they entered Auschwitz, usually for the last time. Arbeit macht frei. Work brings freedom. Creative sort of fellow. So he was sitting in jail and he said, well, that didn't work. What else can we do? I've got it. Food. He who controls food controls the world.
The state says the fruit is probably linked to a deadly outbreak of bacteria sweeping across the country and hitting New Mexico especially hard. New at 10, Action 7 News reporter Todd Unger is following the recall announcement.
Yeah, guys, these numbers are concerning. 3 dead, 10 cases, and more suspected cases being evaluated right now. What's it all mean? Watch what you eat.
Canada's Food Inspection Agency has once again expanded its recall of contaminated beef. This time, consumers are being warned to steer clear of several types of cuts. The Food Safety Agency has come under criticism for what critics have said is a delayed response to the crisis.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is being criticized for not sounding an alarm about potential health risks sooner.
From the very first detection of E. coli, CFIA waited 2 weeks to issue a recall.
And we are addressing to improve the process related to the challenge that we face.
The recall is leading to questions about the reputation of Alberta's beef industry.
The best guess is that some infectious agent is causing it. Today, researchers here at the National Centers for Disease Control said they had found several cases where people who had been sex partners both had the condition. The scientists say this probably means they are dealing with some new, deadly, sexually transmitted disease. The investigators see this as a serious public health problem.
Farmers in the milk industry say it's safe, but studies suggest a link to cancer. Don't miss this special report.
Monsanto's engineered growth hormone did not comply with safety requirements. It could be absorbed by the body and therefore did have implications for human health. Mysteriously, that conclusion was deleted from the final published version of their report.
They knew there were problems. They saw serious potential human health problems, and they stood up in Canada and said, we're not going to approve this because we don't believe it's safe.
We have been
pressured and coerced to pass drugs of questionable safety, including the RBST. I personally was very concerned that there's a very serious problem of secrecy, conspiracy, and things of that nature, and something needs to be done.
The FDA was then on the hot seat. They had to come up with an answer. They didn't come up with a good one. And they never took the opportunity then. I mean, what would they do? Pull it off the market and say we need to now do the job that we didn't do the first time? They didn't do that.
From the time a child is born, it is raised within a system that is designed to restrict them from reaching their potential. Generation after generation has been bred with this system because the individual grows up to accept this way of life as the norm, and it is due to this fact that companies, corporations, financial institutions, and government systems have been allowed to develop over the decades and gain more and more control over the common people.
So that part there explained the soft kill techniques, and I believe that what's happening with Monsanto just pumping out all this food and giving people health problems definitely relates to these soft kill techniques. It's not a hard kill technique, it's more of a soft kill applied lightly onto the population so that it makes them sick and contaminates the public essentially. But it might have been in domino effect. The clip that I was talking about the FDA, it might be hard to find on the internet just searching for it, which is why I was looking for it on this documentary here. And there's actually another part of this film that I wanted to show you guys as well, and that relates to this topic as well. So I just gotta find it here. I'm just scanning the video to try to find. Yeah, here it is. I found it. So this is a hearing involving the FDA.
Perhaps we are all
where they lie to the public. Totally. And this was severely disturbing to me when I heard this.
Again, the globalists in charge.
Which is why I definitely had to include it in this film, because it was a very important topic to be discussed. And a very historical clip, in my opinion. When the government, or when they hold a public hearing, when they're addressing these concerns where our food is being contaminated and poisoned, and you have such crooked deception happening right in front of you, and it's videotaped for the world to see, and they're admitting this. They're not hiding nothing. Put it that way. So here we go.
Cancers are attracted to sugars, which is why a majority of foods on the market are full of various sugars and carcinogens, like glucose and fructose, and countless other harmful substances that create these illnesses. There are often hard to pronounce chemicals and unnecessary substances added to the food supply, which has many people wondering why they are even added in the first place. Perhaps we are all guinea pigs in an experiment that has been going on for quite some time, in order to study the long-term effects and health risks associated with product use and food consumption.
Mr. Kramer, is the FDA monitoring seafood recovered from the Gulf for the presence of heavy metals present in crude oil?
We are not, no.
Are you monitoring for it right now?
And I would defer to NOAA to answer what has been done on this, but I wanted to mention that FDA is not, but the NOAA program we believe is a good sentinel program.
Well, let me go to NOAA then. It's because it's my understanding that compounds like mercury, arsenic, and other heavy metals that are present in crude oil have the ability to accumulate in the tissues of fish in levels that may cause harm, particularly to pregnant women and children. Has the FDA or NOAA here examined seafood for the presence of heavy metals?
Again, I'm going to defer to my colleagues at NIMS to answer that correctly, and we'll get back to you with an answer to that.
Been looking at fish that are right now inside the oiled areas.
No.
No. I think that is important for people And I would recommend to you that you do some testing there. I think it's important for the public to know that inside the oiled area you're also doing testing, because people will be concerned that there could be some migration outside of that oiled area subsequently.
If you find all this hard to believe, we need only to take a look at the history of the use of cancer as a weapon. During the 1960s, it is known that the CIA, with the help...
There you have it, folks. The FDA did not check the food supply. For such a disastrous event as the BP oil spill, with the oil spills, with the fish and the wildlife that they're pulling out, or that could migrate to different areas that are infected or have these toxins in their tissues, they're not checking them. And if you noticed, the guy from the FDA, first off, they looked like mafia members. I mean, the woman at the end, not so much, but definitely the second guy, straight up looked like organized criminal crime boss. I mean, that's a little bit judgmental on my behalf by saying, yeah, okay, you're that's what you are. I'm just making a statement, I guess you could say. But if you noticed, they referred to the Sentinel Project, and that project is called Noah. And what was Noah? Noah's Ark. Yes, it was the ark which contained all life. And it's kind of similar to what I discussed earlier when in regards to the seed vault started by Bill Gates. It's like a vault of life where they can protect certain species, specimens, what have you. So the Noah Project, curiously named Noah Project, and they're supposed to be investigating this oil spill. Definitely absurd. I think Noah needs a bit more investigation. I'm not entirely sure on what the Noah organization represents. It's probably something I should probably take a look into after this broadcast at some point. But I didn't actually, unfortunately, have time before this or since I made that documentary. But definitely when the FDA, during a hearing like that, admits flat out that they're not testing the food for harmful substances, we got something to worry about, folks. And you even seen the hearing from the clip that I showed you before when it was discussing the soft kill techniques. You seen the Canadian hearing with the Canadian Health Association, and the man who spoke up and said, I sense there's a conspiracy going on here where you guys are hiding the results from carcinogenic materials, food supply, substances, hiding the truth, hiding their test results to not give the public alarm, so that we'll keep consuming and keep buying without asking any questions, and eventually, and at the same time, getting sicker, getting health problems throughout time. I mean, these things don't happen right away. That's why it falls into the soft kill category. It takes a prolonged amount of time, so you don't notice it. It's not like taking a straight shot of arsenic at one time and you drop dead shortly after, or strychnine, or whatever substance you're going to take. It's not like that. It takes a lot longer for it to gradually kill you, and that's the scary thing about it. And there's actually another clip. Actually, I'm just going to show you, not from the documentary, but there's another very good clip here, which also makes me wonder about our food supply and the health risks associated with eating manufactured food, essentially. I just hope that the shockwave or whatever doesn't crash again. It's been doing that a lot lately here, it seems. And I do believe this is the video here. Very good video. I'm just going to make sure it's the right one. There's a couple good videos that relate to this. Yeah, here we go. This is it. So I'll get that on screen for you guys. And this is going to be disturbing to you viewers out there, but it needs to be seen. I mean, when I saw this, I was blown away, and it definitely, I've never bought from this company again, put it that way.
Fast food burger, and it is 14 years old.
What?
This is 14 years old.
Years old.
Yes. So this, put some gloves on, Karen.
Oh, thank you.
So this has been kept for 14 years by David Whipple, who says he bought it July 7th, 1999 in Logan, Utah. This
it
Still looks brand new. It actually looks like one that I bought a couple of weeks ago.
So it's not moldy. How can it not be moldy?
Oh,
it's hard.
Yeah, I'll give you one guess. It's
preserved.
Preservatives.
Oh,
That's a 14. If the mold won't eat it, if the fungus won't eat it, bugs won't eat it.
I have
maybe,
to.
Maybe we shouldn't be eating it. They put all these preservatives in foods like that to increase the shelf life. But what does that do to our shelf life?
But let's talk to David. So David bought this 14 years ago, and David, we are glad to have you, but we also are asking the question, why? Why did
Please
you keep
tell
this?
us why.
It wasn't on purpose. I bought that hamburger to use for the same purpose. I was showing some people how enzymes work a little bit, just some friends, and I thought a hamburger would be a good idea. And I used it for a month, and then I forgot about it. It ended up in a paper sack, in the original sack with the receipt, in my coat pocket, tossed in the back of my truck.
There you go.
And it sat there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. The coat ended up in the coat closet. My wife didn't discover this for at least a year or two after that. And we pulled it out, and we went, oh, my gosh, I can't believe it looks the same way.
Yeah.
It is remarkable.
I mean, I've heard of collecting, like, baseball cards and magazines, but, like, burgers?
I think it's a good object lesson. It's great for my grandkids to see what happens with fast food.
Well, David, we are keeping it safe for you. We are going to send it back in a package to its home sweet home. It literally just told me, I miss you, David. So it's coming home, buddy.
And don't worry, we will not take a bite of it before we send it back.
Promise.
David, thank you so much for
14-year-old hamburger. No mold, no bacteria, no funny growth on it. Therefore, it's not a hamburger. And the story that I was explaining to you guys at the beginning of the broadcast, we're almost done. We're almost out of time today. But the story I was telling you guys at the beginning of the broadcast about the little tomato I plucked off the plant and tossed in the backyard and nothing ate it is the exact same as this hamburger here. So, exactly what those doctors said, and those were doctors, exactly what those doctors said. If the bugs won't eat it, if mold won't eat it, and the plants won't eat it, maybe we shouldn't eat it. And that's what we should be saying to Monsanto. We're not going to eat it. And we should tell them to eat this. And really totally blackwall that company altogether. Find out what companies are selling Monsanto products and blacklist them. Do not support those companies. And there's a list that you can find online very easily, which shows you all of these companies. We're almost out of time. I could probably Google that really quickly for you guys and show you guys some of the top companies that to stay away from. But I do want to explain something else before we're out of time, as well as play that Monsanto song for anybody that missed it at the beginning. Let me just see there. There we go. I believe it's a... yeah, there's a few lists you can get. Just type in GMO companies to avoid, and you'll get a couple nice lists on there. I don't know if you guys can see this too well, but here's an extensive list here. And a lot of these companies are using soy products They're using corn. Corn is a massive GM crop, and in fact, most corn is eradicated. Most normal corn, anyways, most of it is now GM corn. I think it's in the 90% rate that is GM, and so that leaves less than 10% of the actual corn on the planet Earth that is not GM anymore. And that's why these greedy globalists have a seed bank storing all those good seeds, and they're just polluting the market with pollution, corrupted Terminator seeds. So we got on these companies here, we've got Aunt Jemima, Aurora, Cadbury. These are some of the main ones. Campbell's, Coca-Cola, Chef Boyardee, General Mills, Frito-Lay, Hershey's, Hungry Jack, Hunt's, Morningstar, Lipton, Post Cereals, Pillsbury, Pepsi, Pepperidge Farms, Procter & Gamble, Rice-A-Roni. The list goes on and on and on. There's tons of these lists out there where people have done investigations into this and discovered the companies that are using GM crops and GM product in their foods, which would be essentially harmful to consume, especially on a prolonged basis. So stay away from those companies if you can. Don't support the globalists. Support your local farmers. I mean, we all have them around our communities, most places anyways, where you could, it's not even that far of a drive, or you have local, eat local places where you can go and local farmers are bringing their produce to these places, or markets, local markets. Some of them are set up one day a week in your community. Go to those places, support those farmers, support those people, but most importantly, question them, ask them, talk to your farmers, get to know your farmer, and ask them, what are you growing? What are you using? And we need to work together here to solve this problem. We really do, because it's a very important problem. And go to your supermarkets, no matter how big it is. If it's part of a chain, Walmart, whatever, if they're selling food, go to the management and talk to the management and tell them, look, do you know what's going on? Show them the scientific tests that are online. There's plenty that you can find out there where it shows that it is harmful. Look at the countries around the world that have banned GM products. Tons of countries are now banning GM or have banned GM products from either being grown in their country or entering their country, being shipped internationally. So that's one thing that our countries could do as well, is ban GMs from being imported into the country or being grown in the country. Very wise idea, but we can start at home. You can do your own home activism here, and that is go to your local supermarkets and talk to the people there and offer them solutions. Find companies, find products that are organic, healthy, that aren't going to cause problems, and suggest them carry those. And when they get them on the shelves, buy them. Show them that there's an interest for that product to eradicate all these main products, these main organizations. I mean, we got to change our ways. Otherwise, we're just de-evolving and harming ourselves. And that's a very important thing to point out, is we can't be harming ourselves. We got to eventually start looking after ourselves and each other and future generations, not only for ourselves, but for the planet itself as well. Because if you're creating a synthetic environment, using synthetic plants, synthetic crops, and these synthetic plants are reproducing. That's a scary thought. Same with synthetic or genetically modified animals reproducing. Now think about us reproducing like that. A scary thought, folks. So I want to thank everybody for stopping in today to Unveiling the Truth. Check out truthbroadcastnetwork.com. We got a few new shows on there. I noticed that there's a couple new ones on there. Don't miss out on Death to the New World Order, which is coming up after this. As well, before, for anybody that's been watching for a while, the Rundown Live. And there's other great shows, new ones. I'm going to show you guys that next time, but we are very much out of time at this time. So I want to thank you guys for stopping in and checking out the show today. And for anybody who missed the track at the beginning of the broadcast, here is Chakra Harmony, MONSANTO. And you could check this song out on YouTube. Just type it in, Chakra Harmony, or just type in MONSANTO, and it should pop up on the list for anybody who wants to check out the song. And there's a website, I think it's snipmp3.com. If you want the MP3, go on there. You should be able to download a high-quality version of the MP3 to play on your iPhone and share with your friends. So, again, thanks for watching, everybody. And as Harry Link says, Death to the New World Order, we got to unveil the truth. Because that's what we're doing here.
Eventually, they mastered a technology based on inorganic, lifeless substances. Their culture was a travesty.
1901, John Francis Queenie founded Monsanto. Freemason knight of multiple portfolio, a big pharma vet investing in chemicals, which led to the creation of PCBs and GMOs. Agent Orange, aspartame, and don't forget DDT. The Manhattan Project dropping nukes on you and me. Technology spent on possibility in third generations. Population control subliminally, and yet they question me when I rise up to take a stand against the man and its master plan that we demand. That all across the land, Monsanto crops are burned and GMOs are banned. Monsanto, where you gonna go? Run up in your office buildings, don't forget to lock the door. Ain't nowhere to run, ain't nowhere to hide. The whole world knows of your plans for global genocide. Monsanto, it's like you don't know. Consumption of your products intestines filled up with little holes. Hazmat suits, protecting your employees. You don't seem to care about our health, just about money.
Their culture was a travesty of our own noble ways, and a threat to our very existence.
Investigate the revolving doors surrounding politics and do a background check on any one of these degenerates. You'll fight along in the selfishness of these globalists, lining their pockets with the profits of human suffering. Yeah, we know your chicks going high behind the bench, but it wouldn't take much just to walk up and take a seat. Oh, take a seat. The public has regained control of the streets. It's time you just admit your defeat. From this day forward, let it be known there is no Monsanto throne. Now lo and behold, the prophecies unfold as governments across the globe quickly dissolve and all politicians to the soul. Monsanto, where you gonna go? Run up in your office buildings, don't forget to lock the door. Ain't nowhere to run, ain't nowhere to hide. The whole world knows of your plans for global genocide. Monsanto, it's like you don't know. Consumption of your products intestines fill up with middle holes. Hazmat suits, protecting your employees. You don't seem to care about our health, just about money. Monsanto, where you gonna go? Run up in your office buildings, don't forget to lock the door. Ain't nowhere to run, ain't nowhere to hide. The whole world knows of your plans for global genocide. Monsanto, it's like you don't know. Consumption of your products intestines fill up with middle holes. Hazmat suits, protecting your employees. You don't seem to care about our health, just about money. Terminator seeds come round up ready. Round them up, line them up, make way for the executioner. It's time for retribution, no more Frankenfoods and genetic fusion. Let's figure out new ways to achieve a global resolution. Mind pollution by corporate news is meant to make you stupid. Better watch what you buy in the stores, cause it could be your family getting sick from eating poisons galore. Monsanto, where you gonna go? Run up in your office buildings, don't forget to lock the door. Ain't nowhere to run, ain't nowhere to hide. The whole world knows of your plans for global genocide. Monsanto, it's like you don't know. Consumption of your products intestines fill up with middle holes. Hazmat suits, protecting your employees. You don't seem to care about our health, just about money.
This section actually protects the biotech industry from being sued.
Typically, they break the laws in order to get these crops in the market. And so they recently passed a policy that allowed companies like Monsanto to do their own environmental impact statement. So now we have a situation where the fox is guarding the henhouse and then also managing all the key positions. There's key people in the Obama administration who are basically Monsanto men or have been receiving financial support. So that shows that the entire mechanism of government has been hijacked.